So he is basically liberated in a society that wanted to subjugate him or did subjugate him and torture him.
Obviously, this happens before the Battle of Badr, right? So Umayyah ibn Khalaf sees him. Safwan sees him, right? Umayyah ibn Khalaf was the one who was torturing Bilal radiallahu anhu. And they see this person walking the streets of Mecca in a confident manner and calling people to Islam.
Right.
That's what he spends his time doing.
Right.
And every second that he's there is undermining the existing social and political paradigm.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What makes a people yours? Is it your language, your tribe, your skin, or maybe something deeper? In today's session, Bilal ibn Rabāḥ radiallahu an declines the Prophet ﷺ's offer to migrate to Abyssinia, not because he doubts, but because he says he belongs where he is. In a private conversation with Wahshī, Bilal radiallahu an shares a worldview grounded in faith, nothing more, in purpose, not in place. My name is Sajjad. I'm here with Assad Koshul, the founder of the Criterion Concepts Podcast series, as well as the curriculum, and our lead facilitator. Assad is going to unpack and get us started on what's happening here in this session, and then we're going to talk more about some of the reflection points. Assad.
So here what we have in this specific clip is Wahshī approaches Bilal radiallahu anhu while Bilal radiallahu anhu is walking the streets of Mecca. And Wahshī asks him, this migration to Abyssinia, are you going? And Bilal responds, no. And all of a sudden, Wahshī's like, wait, what do you mean no? That's your ancestral home. Right. You were almost tortured to death here. Now you're free. Now you have a chance to get away from this place and actually also go to your ancestral home as a free person.
Right.
Why would you not do this? And Bilal, with his response, is epic. He says, his people are here. By this he means that he will live, fight, and die with the Muslims.
Right.
And he says that the bonds of faith are stronger than the bonds of blood. And Wahshī is extremely baffled because the way he sees, because he's also of Habashi origin.
Right.
And he's like, look, you have a chance to leave a land where you were persecuted, to go to a land where you'd be free, and it's your ancestral home. Why would you not go? And so Bilal's response is very baffling to Wahshī. And Bilal was self-affirming here in a very dramatic way. He, first of all, is aligning himself with the Muslims. He's, in terms of, in a very visible way, not just a verbal way, that there's a delegation that's going, and I'm not going to go because I'm going to stay here with the Prophet ﷺ. And even the way that Bilal was dressed, Wahshī is baffled. He's like, your faith has really benefited you. And Bilal said, yes, from the very first moment.
And Bilal radiallahu anh, at this point now, he's free.
He's free.
He's a free man.
Free, yeah. He's been purchased by Abu Bakr and set free.
Right.
And Bilal radiallahu anhu, it doesn't go. And now let's reflect on this. Because again, traditionally the way we understood this, right, was the delegation was sent primarily to escape persecution. But we see here, number one, we see the idea of Ummah. That Bilal identifies himself with the Ummah and not his skin color, right? And it's one thing to verbalize it when you're safe, but he has a chance, again, to escape a place that he was very brutally tortured. And here, look at the two personalities of the two individuals. Bilal radiallahu anhu and Wahshī, although they were actually bunkmates in one respect. You see how their worldviews are so radically different? Two people from the same exact strata in society, same exact situation, but their worldviews are so dramatically opposed, and so dramatically different.
Wahshī is still a slave at this point.
Wahshī's still a slave, but you see that even while Bilal was a slave, their worldviews were still very different. And it's interesting that Wahshī does later on come into Islam, and it's Bilal who offers him protection, right? And takes him to see Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because Wahshī is the one at whose spear Hamza was killed, right? Even a lot of the people who are Qurayshi, who are not Muslim, do not like that. They don't like that one of their, Hamza is a very high figure in Qurayshi society. They don't like what happened to him.
Right.
And obviously Muslims were upset because Hamza was so important.
Right.
So here you see that in a tribal society and one that's based on lineage, Bilal was identifying himself with Muslim Arabs, because most of the followers are at this point Arab, right?
Right.
And not people his own skin color is a challenge to the tribal order and tribal loyalties.
And what has he done also to redefine just the idea of homeland? Because part of that conversation, you alluded to this earlier, is that, Wahshī is basically saying, you go, that's the home of your ancestors, it's where you're from, basically. And, so homeland is not necessarily now based on ethnicity or origin, ancestral origin. It's based on, where my faith is, basically.
Yes, exactly. And so one of the remarkable things is you see character evolution. You see Bilal going from a slave who used to be defeated in wrestling matches by other slaves, and especially Wahshī, to a very self-confident teacher who's walking the streets of Makkah, calling people to Islam.
Right.
And I think this is very important. Bilal doesn't go to Abyssinia, but Abu Hudayfa radiallahu anhu, Suhail ibn Amr, Ja'far radiallahu anhu, and other who are high class within Qurayshi society do go. So every second that he's in Mecca, he's undermining the Quraysh tribal order. It's a public relations disaster.
Right.
And so this is the thing, when I think we might have talked about this earlier, how Bilal radiallahu is a very, very strong and powerful public relations asset that the Prophet deploys again and again. So, like in this case, him staying back is a challenge to the social order, where Abu Hudayfa and Abdullah bin Suhail, them going, is also a challenge to the tribal order.
Right.
So them going is a challenge to the tribal order.
Him staying
is a challenge to the tribal order.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a new system based on faith, not on lineage.
Right. I mean, it is also a tremendous amount of dignity and self-affirmation that's coming out of this, right? I mean, he basically is choosing to stay in a place where, and again, you alluded to this earlier, I'm just trying to tease this out a little bit more. He was tortured there. Right.
And very brutally tortured.
And he stood his ground there. And now that he's a free man, let's just say, he's walking.
He willingly stays.
He's willingly staying, and there's a bit more of a spring in his step. His back is straighter.
Exactly.
Right? Because before, whereas he was a slave, whereas he was, and maybe the dignity of belief, right? I mean, that in and of itself is liberating. And so he is basically liberated in a society that wanted to subjugate him or did subjugate him and torture him.
Exactly. And so he's a free person, and this is the thing that, just think, obviously this happens before the Battle of Badr, right? So Umayyah bin Khalaf sees him, Safwan sees him, right? Umayyah bin Khalaf was the one who was torturing Bilal radiallahu, and they see this person walking the streets of Mecca in a confident manner and calling people to Islam.
Right.
That's what he spends his time doing.
Right.
And every second that he's there is undermining the existing social and political paradigm.
Right.
And it's an extreme embarrassment to them. Like a lot of the other things are also embarrassment, but Bilal in particular, right? Because he was tortured so brutally.
Right.
And he emerged and he's positioning things this way, and then especially now there's a delegation that's going and he's not one of them, and it's like, wait a second, we really are suffering public relations defeat after public relations defeat, just through Bilal's personality.
Right.
And this is what's happening here.
Right.
And the manner in which he self-affirms is remarkable. It's like he says, no, I'm not going to go. And
basically looking danger or in the eye, and saying, I'm not going anywhere.
Exactly. And
you tried what you tried, and it didn't faze me. And in fact, I emerged stronger because now I am a free man.
I'm a free man.
Whereas before I was a slave, now I am a free man.
Exactly. And you have to realize how close Bilal was to Abu Bakr.
Right.
Radiallahu anhu.
Right.
Even this, like, if Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and Bilal radiallahu anhu are walking the streets of Makkah, again, these are all a public relations defeat for the Quraysh, because a high status person walked in front and the servant or the slave walked behind. There are visible things being done. This is not normal. And they see this happening, and the Quraysh are baffled, and yet, now they find themselves in a situation where this delegation is going. Bilal is not one of the ones who are going. And even the slaves, they see this. Wahshī says that, you have the opportunity to leave. Basically says, if I were in your shoes, I would definitely leave. Right. But I'm a slave. I'm not allowed to leave. Right. I don't have the capacity to leave.
To maybe look at it from another angle as well, or tease it out, he's Bilal radiallahu anh as choosing faith as his primary identity, and effectively rejecting, in a way, the tribal ancestral lineage ties, and saying faith is what is
superior,
is going to be superior. That also, staying in Meccan society, which values tribe and ancestry so much, it's also saying to everybody else that, it's not about that anymore.
Exactly.
It's about this. It's about the bond of faith, and so spiritual alignment builds deeper bonds than shared ancestry.
Exactly. And here he is he's saying Ummah over tribe, Ummah over lineage. Right. And his identity is shaped by not his skin color, but by faith.
Right.
And that's, and that is a very revolutionary idea.
Right. No, the reflection for us is, who are we choosing to belong to, right? And then what is the basis of that belonging, right? You can look at that from a community standpoint. You can look at that even from our work standpoint. I constantly working, with growth stage companies, smaller companies that sort of, have a lot they have to put a lot of focus on culture building, right? You're constantly trying to basically message to the company, right? You're going to stay here. Why, right? And it's about culture, it's about the mission, it's about the vision, it's about all these things. The idea is that if you align on those things, your team is going to be a lot stronger versus a team that just is basically there for a paycheck or for for some other benefit.
Yeah, exactly. A transactional relationship.
Exactly.
And we know this, and so we see this. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, would you like to maybe wrap us up, or anything else that you want to say?
No, you see how Bilal's stature among the Muslims keeps rising, right? And the importance of personal dignity and self-affirmation. Who are you?
Yeah.
And so we have, I think, 26 lessons in the curriculum that are subcategories self-affirmation in the Seerah. And I had the honor to teach to a group, right? And they were all brothers and sisters, and they here it was during COVID, and they were all converts. And when we started with these lessons, that's the topic that was the most important to them.
Which is self-affirmation. Self-perception, self-affirmation.
Exactly. Because their situation is very different than my situation. And Bilal radiallahu anhu is someone who self-affirms. But their cases, even the entire Ummah is self-affirming.
And I think my 2 cents on this is that I think part of our challenge today is that we live in a society where we're actually not affirming ourselves, we're constantly affirming others.
Exactly.
We're following others, we're more concerned about what they're doing than what we're doing.
What we should be doing.
Right, and then, what we are doing, what we should be doing, that's the second step, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the first step is to see what am I doing right now, right? If I reflect on what I'm doing now, I'm actually going to then, by extension, start reflecting on, okay, so what am I going to do, or what do I need to do? I mean, and all of that stuff stems from, who do you believe you are?
Yes, and because the identity is very closely linked to confidence, not arrogance, confidence. And are we really teaching the young generation to have confidence in Islamic intellectual tradition? And by having them memorize some surahs is not going to give them that confidence.
Right.
And so this is where, when you look, identity is very closely linked to confidence. And again, I want to emphasize a second time, not arrogance.
Right.
You should be confident. In order to have confidence, you have to have some understanding of the intellectual tradition, and that cannot be done through rote memorization.
And I would say, it's intellectual tradition, it's the spiritual tradition,
Yeah,
it's
of course.
tradition as a whole.
Of course, yeah.
There is a tremendous treasure there.
Yeah.
Which, without necessarily digressing, part of our challenge again, just contemporizing, is that we are in a milieu that, very ironically, even though the era of modernity and everything that's happened after that is the era of individualism. But today we're not thinking about ourselves as individuals. We're actually more concerned with other people.
Yes.
And part of that is just, it's a function of how well they're amplifying themselves. And so we become more engrossed in what they're doing.
Yeah, that's why you have the emergence of influencers.
Exactly. Well, 100%.
At least when we were a little younger, they would say, okay, a society that idolizes athletes and entertainers is on decline. Our history teacher would say this, right, when they were teaching about Rome. And now in the era of social media, you have that idea on steroids.
Now, and I don't want to get controversial here, but you have Muslim influencers, you have Islamic influencers, and so it opens up another whole set of questions.
Yes.
About sort of what that phenomenon is and what it means for the Muslim community.
Yeah, and how grounded it is, right?
Exactly.
So,
well, thank you, Assad. Bilal radiallahu anh could have gone to Abyssinia. He could have been safe. This was the argument from Wahshī radiallahu anh. But he stayed because he saw something that others didn't. He believed something that others didn't. His people weren't those who looked like him necessarily. His people were those who prayed like him and who hoped like him, who believed in the same things that he believed in. So he didn't just belong, he chose to belong. It wasn't passive, it was actually very proactive, it was active. So here's the reflection that we'll leave everybody with today. What makes a people yours? And what does your choice say about who you really are? And who do you affiliate with?
Yeah, who do you identify with?
Who do you identify with? Thank you again, Assad, and join us, everybody, for the next session, inshallah, where we continue the conversation. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.